The following is a sponsored feature.
There you go.
Thank you very much.
It's the advocates, of course, personal injury attorneys, and we talk about them all the time. But Mark has been good enough to come on. He's one of the attorneys at the advocates, and we talk about things with him. And Mark, we've invited people to ask you questions just out of the blue. Are you ready for that?
I think I'm ready for it.
Okay.
I guess we'll see what the questions are.
Yeah. It's let's see what happens here. Now, I think we have a question.
We do. 877-602-9696 if you'd like to talk to Mark. Demetra is on the phone, our old friend Demetra.
Good morning, Demetra.
Hi.
Go ahead.
My question is, I was driving down the street, my little street, and a neighbor backed out of her driveway and hit the side of my car. And when I went to exchange insurance information with her, she refused to. So I called my insurance, and I had her driver's license number and address, and they hunted her down. And then I get a call back that she didn't have insurance. And now my two doors are bashed in. And do I have any recourse? Is there anything I can do?
Yeah, so the only recourse that you would have in a situation like that when the other driver doesn't have insurance is you can obviously make a claim through your own auto insurance. As long as you have full collision coverage, then your auto insurance should cover it. The only downside is that they may make you pay your deductible. So you could do that as long as you have collision coverage. As far as going after her, the first thing that we always encourage people to do when they get in any type of accident, even if it's something in their neighborhood like that, is to call the police and have them come out, because the police would have for sure in that situation gotten the insurance information from her or found out that she didn't have insurance. And then they also could have given her a citation for not having proper insurance once they would have found that out. And then they could have pursued that case against her for not having insurance. The only thing that you could do at this point, knowing she doesn't have insurance, is you could take her to small claims court, depending on the amount of your property damage. So if the property damage amount is under $10,000, you could file a small claims action against her. The downside to that would be is then you have to try and collect the money from her. Because all you'd end up getting is a judgment, but then you'd have to try and collect the money from her. So really the easiest thing to do would be to go through your own insurance.
And just fix it myself and forget about it.
Well, hey, Mark, let me ask you this about small claims court. Do people generally do that without the assistance of an attorney?
Usually they do. The state has actually set it up so that it's easy to do it on your own. I mean, you can get an attorney to do it, but in a situation like that, I would say just go do it on your own. What you do, they would walk you through, the court would walk you through the paperwork that you need to fill out. And then what would happen is they would give you a hearing date where you would have to show up and they would show up. Both of you would explain to the judge the situation, and then the judge would make a decision. So the
court doesn't provide any goons that can go out and then collect the money. If the judgment goes in there's not a court appointed goon who can go browbeat the person for the money, I guess.
Yeah, unfortunately, Utah's legislature hasn't approved anything like that yet.
We should do that.
Goon amendment. We need a
to
goon
get
amendment.
my legislation up there.
The Utah goon law. Let's do that. Okay, Demetra, that about solves it, I think. There's not a lot of recourse.
Thank you, guys. Have a good day.
Yeah,
Thank
you too.
All right, thank you. And talk to Mark. Here's a text question. If you get injured on the job, you're out of work but still employed, is it a good idea to talk to a lawyer, get an advocate?
For sure, and we actually have attorneys that handle workers' compensation cases, because that's what that case would be. If you're injured on the job, the claim is made with workers' compensation insurance. So, yeah, you could definitely call, and our workers' comp attorney could talk to you about it, but that would be a situation where you could get an attorney.
You know, anytime you go to the doctor, you have like an injury, like a back injury or which I'm intimately familiar with, that's the first thing that they'll ask you, is this an injury, and did you get this on the job? And you have to fill that out on forms at the doctor's office. Is that so that, is that to avoid insurance fraud? Is that why they do that?
It's so that they know who to actually bill. Because if it's an injury that happened on the job, then 9 times out of 10, workers' compensation insurance is going to cover the injury. So they're just figuring out who they're going to bill.
So it's the insurance company, the private insurance companies say, we're not going to pay this if workers' comp will.
Right.
I got it. Okay.
Yep.
This is an interesting text. If you call police after a small accident and they refuse multiple times to come out, what do you do? This happened to me after I was rear-ended by someone distracted on their phone.
Wow.
So we do hear that happening. A lot of times it depends on what city you're in. The larger cities, sometimes the police say that they don't have the time to come out to something like that. But usually what they'll do is they'll give you the alternative to go online and fill out a police form online that they'll then certify so that there's actually a record that they called in and that the individuals involved in the accident made a police report. So you usually still can get something done. They just may not send anyone out, but you can go online and fill out a form of what happened and so forth so that there's an actual record.
So that accident was exactly like the two that I was in, and I just want to say thank you, Mark, for helping me get everything finished and settled.
Hey, you bet.
When I was out of town, we were out of town, and my son was here in town, and he had one of our cars, and he called us while we were out of town and said, I got into a fender bender. Didn't really do much damage to our car, and it didn't do any damage to the other car. And so the person that I got into the little fender bender with, we just both said, well, let's not bother calling the police, and let's not. And they just went their separate ways. Well, as I look at my car, there's a little more damage than he indicated. It probably should, it needs to be fixed. But nobody called the cops, and I haven't made an insurance claim. Should they have called the cops, even if it was a little tiny thing like that?
We typically always encourage people to call the police just so that there's a record. And just like the caller that called in, you never know if someone's going to give you insurance information or if it's going to be correct insurance information. Yeah. So even if a little one, have the police come out because they have a system where they can verify insurance. So make sure that the person's actually giving you the right insurance information. Yeah. So, yeah, we would always say at least call the police just to make sure you get the correct insurance.
Yeah. I'm going to probably have to just pay for this now.
Sounds like
that'll be great. Well, Mark, thank you very much, and we'll talk to you. And are we going to do it again next week?
If not next week, a week or so. 2 weeks.
Okay, so we'll have Mark on again is the point, and so be thinking of questions if you want to ask an attorney. You can do it for free. Remember, the Advocates, 801-355-5550 or UtahAdvocates.com. Thanks you, Mark.
All right, Mark, thanks.
Yeah, thank you guys. Have a nice week.
See ya.